Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we have an absolutely amazing, magnificent, fantastic story out of Pleasant Hill, California, where a consignment store was set up to be the victim of one of these flash mob, quick smash and grab type robberies. However, a Second Amendment prepared citizen, somebody who immigrated here from communist Romania, was up, was ready, was alert, and he deterred this crime from happening. We're still going to talk about it, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
Should be very careful because bad things can happen.
Robbers storm a consignment shop in Pleasant Hill, and they get more than they bargained for because a worker was armed and ready to act.
So you just love to see an intro to a news segment like that. You have a bunch of robbers coming in, they have a sledgehammer, they're ready to go, they're ready to smash it up. They're not only here to steal, but they're going to do as much damage as possible. And then an elderly man pulls out his firearm, and all of a sudden, the robbers turn tail and run. The cowardice comes out, and we have a wholesome, amazing story that actually gets better as we progress through the story, so just wait on that.
I show him my gun, and I told him to stop it. I have a gun.
This is the moment a group of would-be robbers came face-to-face with 73-year-old Albert Marcou's .38 caliber revolver.
They ran because they saw my gun, and I was, serious about it. They panic and they run out.
So as you can see right here, you got the robbers storming in. Our hero of the day, the store owner in this particular case, is walking slowly over to the front. He pulls out his gun. Again, no panic in him or anything like that. He draws it, he raises it up, he means business, he just told you he means business, and the robbers scatter and comically knock over things on their way out because they're so shook. A lot of these criminals are counting on the lack of resistance. A lot of these criminals are begging for you to disarm yourself, to put your trust in the state, because the state of California and these various cities across this country have decided that the criminals have more rights than the everyday citizen, but when you assert your rights, when you defend your property, it turns out well for you, especially in cases like this.
They ran because they saw my gun, and I was, serious about it. They panic and they run out.
Now, there's a few things that I want to point out from the video right here. As you can see, by my count, we got 6 or 7, maybe even 8 individuals involved in this robbery, because there's another person who is actually scouting the place out prior to all of these people storming the place. They have sledgehammers, they're coming in, they're violent, they're coming with purpose, and all of these people were deterred by one single firearm, which is why it's incredibly important to not disarm your citizens and declare that they need to engage in a karate battle with the criminals who don't even tell them when the fight is on. They don't even tell them when they need to be ready to go. This is a perfect example, by the way, that won't show up in any statistics of a firearm preventing a crime.
I show him my gun, and I told him to stop it. I have a gun.
This is the moment a group of would-be robbers came face-to-face with 73-year-old Albert Marcou's .38 caliber revolver.
Bare minimum, a robbery, but possibly even an assault and possibly even a murder, because we've seen in these cases time and time again that these criminals have no regard for human life, for human safety. There's a lot of elderly people working in this store, a lot of vulnerable people working in this store, and these guys came in ready to do damage, but they were deterred in 30 seconds flat. And again, the story will get better as we progress through it. We also have another news segment where this guy gives an interview, which I think is quite heartwarming. It's a true American kind of story, but let me play a little bit more so you could understand how this robbery actually worked.
Surveillance video shows this woman walking through the store. Marcou says she was a scout, scoping out all the security cameras while on the phone with the young men. Here you see the woman walking out and stalling, trying to keep the security guard from shutting the door to let her friends in.
So this is one of the reasons reasons why it's incredibly important to stay alert, to think about what is going on in your place of business, because you have a woman right here who's walking around slowly and casually. Maybe she doesn't look all that suspicious because you can see her face. She's wearing a dress. Maybe you're worried that she might be potentially a shoplifter, but in reality, what she's trying to do is get a lay of the store, and she's communicating that information in real time to the awaiting criminals who are ready to storm the location to do some serious damage. But it goes a little bit further than that. Not only is she scouting it out in this way, not only is she communicating this information to the people outside, but she also decides, because this store has a locking mechanism that is only meant to let in customers when the people in the store want them in, to stall and make sure that they can actually get into the door. And by the way, this security door almost worked. It almost was the barrier needed in order to prevent this robbery from occurring, but this is why it's incredibly important to not only secure your entrances and exits, but to have something as a backup for those instances where those security measures fail. And they did fail, even though it was just by a hair in this regard.
The door to let her friends in, but they force the door open and bum rush their way inside. One guy's carrying a sledgehammer. After a worker screams, Marcoux makes his way to the jewelry section, as do the intruders. Marcoux then pulls out his gun.
Now, as you can see right there, you have these guys blitzing the door. She's trying to hold it open. They already know something is up by her propping the door open for as long as she did, and they try to pull the door closed so that they can get the locking mechanism in place. But unfortunately, they've already got their hands on the door, and one employee is no match for the 2 or 3 people that are yanking the door on the outside, and then it's a flood. All of a sudden, there are screams being heard because these people are bum rushing. They're all masked. You don't know if the sledgehammer is the only weapon that they actually have on them. And at this point in time, it is on. It's time to make a move, and our elderly hero makes the best move. He checkmates them in one play, and it's absolutely amazing.
The group scatters out of the shop and climb into 2 Infiniti Q50s, one white, the other black. But almost immediately, a Pleasant Hill police cruiser pulls up right behind them. I've learned that's because the white Infiniti is stolen and triggered a license plate reader alert.
Again, I absolutely love everything about this story. And by the way, I did mess up a little bit because on my initial watch, I thought this had the perfect ending, but all it really did was have a reasonably good ending, because what ends up happening after these people leave is that a Pleasantville police officer is right on the scene within seconds. This is incredibly rare, but as you're going to find out, it's because one of the getaway vehicles being used in this particular case was in fact stolen, so it triggered a plate reader, so the police were already on their way to confront this vehicle. However, there is an unfortunate result of this that I actually misremembered on my initial watch, and I'm not going to be very happy to share this information with you.
Despite the quick police response, those Infinitis took off and the intruders escaped. Marcoux says perhaps with their lives.
So yeah, I do like that the criminals were made to panic. I do like that they were put on their back foot absolutely immediately. I do like that even their pullout had them a little bit shook of this particular area, but I don't like that the Pleasantville police allowed both of these vehicles to get away. You have to get one of these vehicles. You have to absolutely make an arrest in this situation. These are dangerous thugs, violent criminals. They were ready to do some serious damage. The police are right there, but somehow they didn't engage. And I would want to look up whether or not the Pleasantville police, like many other police departments in Democrat-controlled areas, tends to have one of those laws or whatever that restricts police pursuits, because to me, it's the most obvious thing in the world that you don't let these robbers get away. Typically, the police are able to corner them, and I don't understand how they lost both cars and how both of these groups of suspects are still at large. You have to at least get one of them, and it's absolutely shameful that they did not.
If they threaten my life or my life of the employees, I would use the gun. 100%.
He says he keeps his revolver on him inside the store because of recent similar incidents. This video shows 2 men smashing display cases and stealing jewelry at the Home Consignment Center in Danville a week ago.
Now we cut back to our hero, our boss, the man of the hour, and he says, listen, You threaten my employees, you threaten me, you come into my store like that, I will absolutely use the gun. There was not any hesitation in this man's mind on whether or not he was going to blow these guys away unless they did that cowardly stop and dash out of the store like what happened. And he's ready to go because these incidents have happened repeatedly, and it's really getting under his skin just trying to be a small business owner in the state of California.
I didn't want to shoot anybody, right? But I have to make a statement. Too many bad things happened. Stores get robbed left and right.
The intruders have yet another reason to consider themselves lucky. Tiger, Marcous's German Shepherd, happened to be at the groomers that day.
So I thought this was important to leave in the video because there's this depiction of the American gun owner that they're rubes, that they're hicks, that they're stupid, that they're just looking to shoot somebody at the drop of the hat, the thinnest justification. But as you hear, nobody wants to be in these self-defense scenarios. This guy was not looking for trouble. He was trying to defend himself against trouble, and in reality, he would prefer to go throughout his whole life without having to shoot anyone. And in this particular case, thankfully, he did not have to do that. Thankfully, the suspects ended up running away. And as I said, this is yet another defensive use of firearm to prevent a crime, to prevent possibly an assault, to prevent possibly a murder that will just not ever make the statistics. However, we know that it happened. We're documenting that it happened so that you can see what firearm ownership can do for you or can do for society.
I have a message for all the business owners to take example and fight for themselves, because if you don't fight for yourself, nobody will.
Again, this guy is absolutely awesome. At least the older generation in California, it appears, knows what's up. They remember the previous crime waves, and they are ready to roll, and they know that their own defense is on them. And by the way, this guy has an excellent perspective on where California is heading. Like I said before, he's from communist Romania. He immigrated to the United States because he absolutely loves America, and in another interview that he did with another local news agency, he talks about how great this nation is, how happy he is to be here, but how upset he is that California politicians are moving the country in the wrong direction.
Albert Marcoux has been with the estate's consignment store since 2007. He is saddened by what he sees as a rise in violent crime in recent years and explains he's had enough.
I have to take a stand. Too many things happen around us, and nothing is being done. I feel very, very sad what's going on in this country, which is one of the best countries in the world.
So once again, right here, he reiterates the idea that he has to take a stand. He has to fight for what's his. He has to defend himself. He has to defend his employees. He has to defend his place of business. And it's really sad for him to see California slipping. It's really sad for him to see this all around his neighborhood, because America is one of the greatest countries in the history of the world. That's why he came here. However, unfortunately, California is regressing to be more like communist Romania than like an America that this guy dreamed about and came here for.
Beg the politician to help us, small businesses, and help the community all over California. It's getting out of hand, and I would say 99% of my customer complaints about crime.
So right here, once again, he tells it like it is. He has customers complaining about crime, other business owners complaining about crime. And by the way, this is not rooted in nothing. If you actually look at the data, not for shoplifting, because this would actually be classified a little bit different in the state of California, which I find quite interesting, because California is trying to downplay their shoplifting problem overall. This would be categorized under a commercial robbery or commercial burglary, depending on the officer or how it's reported in this particular area. And in most of the counties, according to this California survey, actually have a dramatic increase in commercial robberies and commercial burglaries. In fact, commercial robberies and commercial burglaries supersede regular shoplifting, regular retail theft. So there's been an escalation in this crime, which is often used by people on the left wing to say shoplifting has gone down. Yeah, sure, shoplifting, regular stealing might have gone down comparatively, but that's because these people are graduating to the next level of commercial burglary and commercial commercial robbery. And as we said on this channel multiple times, the state of California has a stupid law. It's one of the worst in the entire state that basically makes it impossible for you to send people like this to prison because they don't consider this a serious violent felony. Even though it's a violent felony, it doesn't graduate to that level. Again, I will reference this snake video every single time. We had the snake burglar, a supervillain in California, 76 felony convictions, but under California law, they could not send him to prison, so he spent a few months in jail and he's out again on the streets. They don't put these people in prison. They send them to county jail. The county jail is completely overfilled, so they get discharged within a month, within 2 months for these serious crimes. When you have that kind of environment that caters to the criminal, it comes down to us to defend ourselves, or Romanian badasses that fled communism, that love America, and are not going to mess around with this kind of crappy behavior. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an absolute Romanian badass fighting back against the criminals. Till next.